All right, so the topic is forgiveness is freedom. And I gonna drive into it with this quote from Frost: two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled. That speaks to myself and also the clients I'm working with. I'm working with highly sensitive people, people who think of themselves as misfits, cycle breakers, and creatives. Or in German, we say the black sheep of the family in the constellation. And that brings us to when do those blockages happen? When does trauma occur? And the most vulnerable time for us as humans is between the age of 0 and 7 years. And that's also when we're really beautifully learning like a sponge, but also are susceptible to just taking in what is represented in our family dynamics. And depending on how well our parents did their homework and really worked on their emotional and spiritual growth, that's what we're dealing with. So how is trauma created? It's created not necessarily by the event, but it's really created by our reaction to the event. Gabor Mate is also big in emphasizing this, and it makes it so clear why we can't say, oh, this happened to you, but like I had no problems, or why siblings react so differently, even though they grow up in the same setting. And that also now makes sense why highly sensitive people are my clients, people who think of themselves more as a black sheep, the misfit, and who want to break this cycle of family and ancestral trauma. Because these people, or we are, so much more susceptible to emotional blockages and trauma. The next interesting question is, where's trauma located? And it's really located in the body. Our body, our physical body, is the container for our emotions. We do think about our emotions in our head, but that's not where our emotions live and are felt. So I think that's really important, because I think we often believe we're like, our emotions are in our thoughts. That's not the case. So in these first 7 years of a child's life, there are core wounds that can be created. And so it's betrayal, it's abandonment, not being loved, no safety and trust. And what happens is, if one of these wounds has been created in that circumstance in our family for us, we're repeating it over and over in our teenage and adult life, especially with our close relationships. And that's why we really need to take care of these early childhood blockages and traumas, because it creates a lot of inner turmoil and suffering. So how do these traumas show up later on? What would be indicators? And I'm just mentioning a few. It can show up as people-pleasing. It can show up as being likely to be in an abusive relationship. It can be emotionally abusive or physically and sexually abusive. Many of my clients are in relationship with narcissists. It can show up in feeling not good enough. It can show up in feeling not lovable. And that's just to mention a few. And clearly, what helped us survive as kids is now blocking our growth, our health, and our happiness. What to do? I've, for simplifying this whole complex topic, just mentioned 3 steps. One is mindfulness training. And that means become more mindful of what's going on within you, become more present to your sensations, to your feelings, to your bodily needs, and also more present to the environment. And so you have walking meditation, you can work with your breath. And actually at the end, I will do an exercise, a breathing exercise. Breath is a beautiful vehicle. Yoga, a walk in nature can be a mindfulness exercise. So you find out what works for you. Number 2, really important, is acknowledging our emotions. I say it again, acknowledging our emotions, essential. Instead of toxic positivity. How often have you, when you shared your trauma with someone, heard, oh, you got this, this is gonna be okay, you know, come on, you know, I know you can do it. Yes, there are times when we need cheering on, and then there are times when we just need for someone to acknowledge what's going on inside of us. And we need to do this for ourselves, acknowledging our emotions. Number 3, releasing those early blocks. I use 3 methods, 3 approaches to do so. The core one is new decision therapy. I also use inner family communication and coaching, trauma-informed coaching. Right now, I want to speak more about the new decision therapy, because there we're coming back to our forgiveness topic. New decision therapy is really a holistic approach based on compassion, forgiveness, mirror work, created by Dr. Kenneth Blakely in 1992. What's so different in this approach? It really is body-centered. Your body remembers. When we go to therapy, we can only talk about what we have in our head, what we already know. And that's often not enough to solve our deeper blockages. I always say it's like stirring the pot instead of releasing it. So your body remembers, and we're entering the body's wisdom through muscle testing, kinesiology. It's a very specific technique. And when I say we work with the body, you're fully closed. It's like you're standing up for muscle testing. You stretch out one arm. I try to push it down. The response of your arm and strength will show me the way to read your energy, to find what blockage is ready today to be released. We find in what age it happened. We often find the exact moment in time that created that blockage, or where you created that blockage, and which people are involved. And then we go in the mirror, and I guide my clients through a 5-step forgiveness process. And that is really the key to releasing that blockage from childhood. And we do that one blockage at a time, like onion principle, from the outside in. And at the core, it's really about self-forgiveness, because what has been done to us, subconsciously, we have adopted and are doing it to ourselves. And that's really the kicker in this. Deep breath. What has been done to us, we subconsciously adopt and do to ourselves. And forgiveness and compassion is the key to release that hold of that belief that we have adopted. The quote I use as a tagline, and that I find very pinpointing this, it's Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Our life will always bring challenging or also painful experiences. But if we go around in circles and stay in our trauma response and repeat, that is suffering, right? So pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. I hope you choose wisely. Thank you for being open to listen to this. A PS, forgiveness. When we talk about forgiveness, many of my clients are like, I don't want to forgive that person. They were so awful. It was so horrible. It's like, and really to let sink in that forgiveness is truly for yourself. It releases you from the hook that was created in that trauma. And yes, it releases also the other person, but that's not your focus. Your focus is on freeing yourself through forgiveness.